one of the themes on the show lately has been, I don't know if there's really a team to beat this year. There's just a lot of teams near the top. And because there's no team to beat, I got to justify that by saying there are healthy amounts of questions with every one of these teams. Like when I said that the other night, people were asking, really, well, what's the big weakness for Texas or the big weakness for Georgia? I didn't say they're weaknesses. They could be weaknesses. Right now, they just qualify as questions. So I wanted to do some of these teams tonight because we can run down the list. If you're just looking at the odds to win it all, Georgia's going to be way up there. All right, so what are the biggest questions about Georgia? Well, being able to run the ball effectively, that's definitely going to be one of them. Line play, both sides of the ball, I would look there as well. It was very uncharacteristic of them last year. They were 102nd in rush yards per game. Crazy. I don't think they're going to be that bad again this year. But, think about how much they have to improve to get back to the former version of themselves. They got to replace 4 offensive linemen. If you were that poor last year, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to have new bodies there. That makes it a question, though. And then over on the defensive side, this is something that if you're a hardcore Georgia fan and you like have your 2 deep memorized, you go back in time a few years, you had a 2 deep littered with guys that were going to go on and play Sunday ball or at least had the potential to. And Christian Miller's back there this year. Outside of that, Elo Mendoza is a guy they went and got from Army that they think will be a really good player, and I agree with them. He'll be a really good player, but Xavier McLeod, like Jordan Hall, these are not bad players. Please don't misunderstand me. There's a difference in really solid player versus the kind of player that Georgia used to have all over the place up front on the defensive line. Now, I know they're going to clip this, and I know they're going to play it in the building, and they should, because it is possible that that coaching staff, one of the very best in the country, could end up getting a whole lot more out of one or multiples of those guys than you think possible. That's why it's a question. It's not a weakness. Look at Ohio State. I'd say the same thing about their defensive line. You had 4 defensive linemen last year, not only that are gone, but they were also integral parts of your leadership. So you got to replace the talent and production, and you got to replace the leadership. They've got former blue chippers to backfill, but here's what always happens in college football. So when you lose a bunch of guys from one unit, not only do you have to pay attention to the fact that, okay, well, you're backfilling there with guys that were big names in recruiting but are unproven, the names behind them. Okay, your 2 deep that's your starting line, and then your second layer, which is going to have to come into play. How effective can they be? Do you have championship caliber depth there? And also the coordinators. Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles may have been the best OC-DC combo in the country last year. And you are elevating Brian Hartline to offensive coordinator. You're bringing in Matt Patricia at defensive coordinator. These are first-timers at the college level having the jobs they're going to have this year. Not saying it's a weakness. I'm saying it's a question. That's all it can be in July is a question. Hey, quick timeout. Check and see if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you're not, I humbly ask that you click subscribe. It's free. It doesn't sign you up for anything. What it does is it helps us keep this show free so we can just do college football year-round. All right, back to the clip. At Ole Miss, man, I'm high on Austin Simmons. Technically, he hasn't proven anything, but I'm high on Austin Simmons. But I'm telling you, the biggest question about this team to me is defensive regression. It's going to happen. I mean, Ole Miss last year, they were second defensively in points per game allowed. They were second defensively in rush yards allowed per game. They were first in the country in sacks. They will fall off. I just am questioning how much they're going to fall off. Because if Golding still has that team playing like top 15 defense, they could win the league if Austin Simmons is what I think he's going to be. But that's really difficult to do. Really, really difficult to do, especially year to year, given the volatility of the approach they use. Just bringing in portal guys. I don't think this portal class they just brought in has the pop necessarily that the previous one did. So you're pairing all of that with a new quarterback. There's just a lot that has to fall into place. They've still got a workable schedule, but a lot of that stuff's got to fall into place. So to me, it's nice that it's not front-loaded. They get Georgia State to start. They go to Kentucky week 2, Arkansas week 3. Not easy opponents, but like they're not going to Georgia in week 1 or 2. They're not playing LSU week 1 or 2. And lastly, for tonight, What about Notre Dame? 5 minutes ago, Notre Dame played for a national championship. Still crazy to say. All right, so the quarterback position and defensive line. Those are two of the main areas that I question. CJ Carr, I have said before, I'll say again, I think his upside gives them more potential in the passing game than at any point during Marcus Freeman's tenure there. I think the personnel they have out wide, if CJ Carr is the real deal, they could fulfill that prophecy of having the best passing game they've had since he's been there. You know they'll be able to run the ball. I got very little question about that, but it's the promise versus the production. That's kind of what makes it a question. CJ Carr has played in one game. So there's no proven production there, but yet there's a reason why he is there, if that makes any sense. So the same thing over on defense, specifically on the defensive line, Riley Mills and Howard Cross, Oben, like those guys being gone, you kind of come to know that you can trust Notre Dame to have quality backfills. It's just what caliber do they backfill at? Like, do they come in and grab the rope and pull every bit as hard as the frontline guys did last year? Is there a 10% drop-off? Are they vulnerable in like one specific area more so than last year's team? That's just normal football. It's college football. Like that's what it is. So those aren't weaknesses. They're just questions right now.